Hello. Sorry it's been a while since I've had a video. I'm preparing for a solo exhibition in Bonita Springs, Florida, and it's had me super busy along with other, things about life that happen. I wanted to come on real quick and just show you, I had the opportunity to use a studio at the art center to create a series of paintings in the fluid art techniques with one color palette and 15 different techniques. I'm calling it Fluid 15, the series. It's a huge body of work, and I had a lot of leftover paint. So I wanted to just share this kind of tip with you. When I have leftover paint, I use Floetrol containers and label them Blues Light. I drop some isopropyl alcohol in there along with the paint, and I feel like I get a good amount of longevity out of the paints by doing that. So these colors are all leftovers except for the black, which was a leftover from a class I did. These colors are all leftover paints from that huge series that I did. And basically I just poured in all the lighter hues in one container, medium, and dark. And then this is a mix of metallic paints, champagne, silver, I can't remember what else, but just metallic paints. So basically I have like 5 or 6 Floetrol containers that are labeled with colors or shades or medium blue, light blue, dark blue, and put my Slop paint in there. And then I really loved these shades of blue, and since they're sort of part of that series, I thought I would go ahead and repaint this Lazy Susan with these colors, but with black instead of white, because I love that contrast of black with blues. And so because I do art shows, inevitably somebody will say, I love this, can I have it in a different size? So something I've started getting in the habit of doing is, especially when I use Slop paints, is to make a color swatch card, which is just a canvas board with my paint colors on it and the date, so I can look back at the video or look back at photos in my photo roll and see exactly what technique I used and or what colors. So since I do a lot of commission work, especially on bigger art pieces, and many times the customers get their inspiration from Lazy Susans that are hanging in my booth. I have really been trying to get better about documenting the process of the Lazy Susan and then making a swatch card for later so I can match those paints if I need to. So obviously black is black, but I'm gonna put it on there. I only use one brand of black, so that's not gonna be a big question. What will be interesting is this. I really like this color. It was some Amsterdam silver, which actually looks very like a muted champagne color, regular silver, which was probably either deco art or creative inspirations, and some champagne paint. So it made a nice pewtery kind of tone, and I actually really like it. I plan to use the rest of that container on another project. But this is how I document it so that if I have to later match these colors, I can. The other thing I'm going to note here is that this one is metallic And this one is metallic because typically that's difficult to see once the swatch is dry, and I don't want to miss out on that information. So on my table, you can see I have all of my colors lined up, and I'll do a few other pieces with these colors. They're not going to go to waste. For this size canvas, I typically will do 3 flip cups. It's not canvas, I guess, Lazy Susan. A couple of other notes that you may notice here. Yes, I have puppy pads down, but I actually have a plastic bag that came over a metal panel that I ordered. It's a clear plastic bag. The reason I'm doing that is because I'm collecting paint skins for an upcoming paint skin jewelry class. So I'm trying very hard to capture interesting color palettes on paint skins and use those in my upcoming jewelry class. So our black is going to be very minimal in these cups, just because I don't want to make that a focus. Instead, we're going to be focusing on these blue hues. And so I'm just putting a little drop of black in there. Sorry about the view here. I am filming in the corner of my studio because I have big projects drying, and as you can imagine, that can make things a little challenging when you're trying to create a bunch of art in a short period of time. So my solo show opens October 23rd. I'm really excited and honored to be a part of that. Also, on that night, particularly if you're from the Naples, Fort Myers area, a dear friend of mine, Jeanette Richards, she will be having her solo show in the gallery next to mine. So I'm excited to be there and be part of that wonderful event with Jeanette, who is a dear friend of mine, and she has beautiful art. So we are looking forward to opening that exhibition on October 23rd. The exhibit will be up until December 4th, I think. And then normally I'm in show season already by then, but this year I decided to bypass show season to take the opportunity for this solo exhibition. Okay, so here we go. I don't worry about the flip of that too much. But I should have used bigger cups. I wanted to leave more space in there so these paints could have a party. But like I said, I'm like dangerously low on supplies just because I have painted so much in the past few weeks. Ooh, that's pretty. That's really pretty. Nice. I really love this mid-tone blue. And I think black was the perfect accent color for this. So what I like to do with flip cups is just kind of spread it out a little bit without going off of the canvas just yet. And I like to give it a bang so that we can see where those cells are forming. If you were going to torch, this would be where you would torch. I'm just kind of deciding what to keep and what to get rid of. I think I'll ring it with a flow extender of black just so I can save some of those pretty blue colors for my next project. See that right there? That was from the cup. That's going to be a beautiful paint skin. Okay, so since we have lateral lines, which often happens with flip cups, I tend to keep it, my tilting to the side as much as possible. I find that a round surface that is going to spin is nice to have some lateral lines and direction. It makes the spinning part of the Lazy Susan more interesting. Oh, that's beautiful. I was worried about using so many shades of blue in one small piece, but it really is dynamic. Wow. Okay, I think this blue right here, which of course doesn't have a name because it's a slop mix, is probably one of my favorite colors or shades of blue. It's just gorgeous. That's this, and it does have some metallic paint in it. That metallic pewter mix is really beautiful too. It's going to really come up and shine with the resin. I finish the resin and everything else. Sometimes when it reaches that 90-degree angle edge on a wood piece, it needs a little help to go over. Wow. I might have to keep this one. That is just stunning. And I love that combination of black and blue. So let's see how this turns out as it sits and those cells continue to develop. I'm also going to do some flip cups around on this plastic bag just so that I can get some interesting skins for my upcoming acrylic skin project. I don't like to waste paint. We spend a lot of time and effort mixing and money on paint and Floetrol. So I've really started to refine my practice of putting a silicone mat or something underneath my painting so that I can capture those skins and then use them in other things. So I had a tremendous amount of practice canvases that I cut off of the frames and paint skins that I've been collecting forever, and developed a scrap to spectacular jewelry class using all of those things that I've been saving for so long. And that's coming up in November, I believe. So I'm thinking ahead and trying to capture more paint skins as we go along. Okay, I'll come back as soon as this is ready. These two, I want to leave some space for them to have a party in there. And I really liked that metallic next to this mid-level blue and black on the other Lazy Susan that we did. So layering it like that, and then I'll go in the reverse for the second cup. And I actually will probably do a small one in the middle. Need some more of this. Ooh. These little plastic ones are slippery compared to the paper. So I left a good inch in the top of these cups, these two plastic ones, so that when I flip them, they would have an opportunity to really allow the paint to mix around. You know, people ask me all the time, how do you get cells? How do you get cells? Well, it's not a one-size-fits-all answer. First, you have to have the right chemicals, but then you have to have an agitation of some kind. This flip cup is an agitation because we're layering the paints and then flipping it over and making sure that we have enough variety and interest with the colors to ensure that we have a good result. But the agitation is the secret. So if you don't agitate, then you won't have cells. The only other way to get cells without agitation of some kind is to use silicone, which I do not use because it makes putting varnish or resin very challenging. And when you work as fast as I do and sell as much as I do, you don't have time to wash your artwork and put cornstarch and wait and wait and wait. So right now I'm just tilting to get the colors to the edges, and then I'll start thinking about my composition. Again, very linear. That is just so cool. I actually kind of like that solid edge of the middle blue there, but there's a time and place for negative space, and this is not it, because I need to get my excess paint off of the wood. All right, so let's look at this. I really love what's happening up there with the cells. Let me turn that up here. So I'm actually going to stretch that out a little more. I have this on 3 cups, and one of my cups just tipped over. Really, really, really liking that. Okay. All right, that's actually pretty interesting. It opened this up a lot, which is nice. Mm-hmm. Okay. I can see I'm kind of getting down to what I need to tilt off is going very slow. That's both a good and a bad thing. I know I don't have to tilt anymore. Oh, I actually really like that now. Now that looks very cool. And I think this black area is going to have some, I may just torch that because it looks like it may get some blue cells coming up. When in doubt, blow on it. That breaks the surface tension and brings up those cells very nicely. You can also bang it on the table, which I do often. Sometimes I prefer to do that over torching, especially since I really vigorously shook up these paints today. Torching's just going to give me measles. So if I break the surface tension by blowing on it, usually it'll give me what I want. And now let's stretch it just a tad, give it some place to develop more cells. That's pretty. Okay. Loving it. Okay, here's all the slop, and then I had just a little bit of paint left and some cups, so I dumped it out, and this will sort of self-level as things go along, but I like sometimes, especially if there's a metallic involved, just swipe through it over another color, see what I can develop. That's pretty cool. Use a popsicle stick or a skewer. That's some pretty thick paint there, so, ooh, that's pretty. Okay, and then you can see where I put my cups from my flip cup over on the plastic, and that one in particular is really going to be pretty. It will continue to level. This table isn't particularly level because I had a bunch of resin drips underneath this, but it will dry with the magic of a dehumidifier and some patience. So if you're interested in seeing what I do with the skins later, let me know.